Hi there everyone, welcome to an episode of Skis Productions. Today I'm going to talk about whether or not you can ride a Velomobile in the snow. So currently it snowed about 2 inches on the ground here, so it's not that much snow. Obviously you're going to be limited by the amount of ground clearance you have on the Velomobile model that you have. On the bulk you only have a few inches of ground clearance because of the foot bumps on the front. If you get high centered, you obviously can't go nowhere. But as long as your rear wheel, which is your drive wheel, has traction, you can still propel yourself forward, and it'll actually just kind of slide through the snow like a sled. Now, one thing to note about the bulk is that you can't really run big, meaty, knobby tires on the back to actually get that drive force down to the ground and get traction enough to be able to propel yourself through deep snow. Now, on models like the Quest XS, you can actually propel yourself forward because you can put a 26-inch by 2.35 mountain bike tire on the back of that. So something like a Schwalbe Knobby Nick, you can put on the back of a Quest XS, but not on the back of a Bulk Mark 1. On the Bulk Mark 1, you're pretty limited to the tires that you can run on basically a typical road bike in 700C. Most of the roads in my area have already been treated and salted and everything like that. So I can't really show you on the road, or actually I might just end up riding through my yard and just see how it goes. I got a little bit of an uphill here and see how it goes. And the one thing that I've had problems with in the past with my Quest XS while riding in low traction conditions is basically when you go up too steep of a gradient, you will end up spinning your rear tire and you'll have to get out and push it up the hill. I haven't really had any issues with front tires getting traction because you have two wheels up front that you can steer together, and so if one loses traction, it's not that big of a deal because you still got another one to hook up for traction. So without further ado, I guess we'll just go ahead and see how it does in the snow. Alright, so now what we're going to be doing is basically I'm going to be taking my Velomobile from up there, riding it through the grass down along here. And I'm basically just going to try to ride through the deep grass here. And this is actually a pretty tall grass underneath the snow. So this is going to be a pretty good test of the traction of the rear wheels. So let's go ahead and see how it does here. Alright, so I'm in the Velomobile now. I'll be riding by the camera now. I can feel my back wheels spinning. See if we can get through here. Now again, this is kind of tall grass. Back end's kind of slipping and sliding around there. See if I can get going here. Alright, so now we're going to kind of retrace our steps. So let's go up here to where we got stuck at. I pulled it back a little bit already, but right up here is where I got stuck at. You can see my rear wheel left quite an indentation there, and basically the front wheel sank into the snow there, and I basically came up and walked it backwards. Let's take a look at these tracks here before this point. So you can see back here, you can see where it slid a little bit, the back tire slid a little bit. So obviously the back tire having traction. And right there's another spot where it slid. You can see one here. And one up here. Now let's check up here around the turn where it would really matter at. So up here around the turn, it didn't seem to slip at all. As you can see, there's no slide marks from the front or rear tires. It's only once it started taking over as drive tires where I really had to push it, because the section back here was actually partially downhill. I had some momentum, but then once I actually had to use the rear wheel as a drive tire, I started getting slips like that and like that up there until eventually it hit too much resistance with the front wheels and you couldn't go any further. Alright everyone, so what did we learn by this short little ride in the snow? Now again, the snow is about 2 inches deep here. We didn't get too much snow today, but I will tell you from riding in the past with my Quest XS Carbon that you can ride in deeper snow. Just the front end will kind of just glide along the top of snow, and your front wheels will kind of act like skis to navigate you through the snow. Now, one thing that's important to note about the Bulk Mark 1 is that you're limited to your tire sizes because you have a 28-inch rear wheel, so you're basically limited to the 700C range. So I have a 700C by 28 on the rear of my Velomobile, which is 1 1/8 inch wide. On the Quest XS Carbon, you can go up to 2.35 inches wide, and it's in a 26-inch wheel format. What that means is that on the Quest XS, you can run mountain bike knobby tires on the rear. You can't do it on the front, but the fronts don't really matter, as you can see in this test. So you can see basically in this test, when we stopped is when we ran out of traction on the drive tire. The steering tires never lost traction in this entire test. Even coming around this corner, I tried to cut it sharp, didn't lose traction whatsoever. Now, one thing I will note is that if you lose traction on your rear wheel at a high rate of speed, you can spin your Velomobile around 360 degrees and you could possibly roll your Velomobile. So that is something to be aware of. How did it perform today? As you saw, it was limited by the amount of traction the rear wheel had. So as long as you can put a high traction rear wheel on your Velomobile, you can continue to go. As long as you can propel yourself forward, you can continue to ride in the conditions that you're riding in. Again, in the past, I've never had an issue with the front wheels. I've even ran like the Schwalbe Pro 1s on the front. And those are basically racing slick tires on the front. And those are literally like no traction, but they've never lost traction in snow or slush conditions that I've ridden in my Quest XS. Now, obviously, I run Contact Urbans on all my Velomobiles now, just because the Contact Urbans have really good flat resistance rating, and you don't really have to worry about tire popping and wasting time on the side of the road with the Contact Urbans. And in the cold, below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, they really suck. They really drop your speed down, so it does give you more of a workout in the winter time. You can switch to different tires. I personally will continue to run the Contact Urbans because they're just a good all-around tire, and I go on mixed surfaces, basically gravel, dirt, grass, everything like that. And since they can handle the gravel and not pop, I'm going to continue to run the Contact Urbans. You can see that my rear tire started sliding off to the side as we went through here. And that's basically just trying to propel itself forward as the front wheels got hung up. But at the end of the day, basically, your drive tire determines how far you can go with a Velomobile in the snow. Thanks for watching.